Sega Genesis is definitely the low rider of all consoles. Definitely. Hello everybody, I am Sam the Pixel Dude and welcome to episode 39 of the Sega Does podcast. I was watching Gone in 60 Seconds last night, can you tell?
That's when Nicolas Cage made real movies, right?
Yeah, that's when he was that's peak Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Or Face Off. Face Off?
He was definitely on a crazy train.
It went downhill after Gone in 6 Seconds, definitely.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Too many castles. No, too many castles. He had castles and pyramids and palaces and...
That's what happens, and you forget that it's I have to keep working to afford all these.
Yeah. Just take a walk in the countryside. Well, I like the look of that. I'll buy it. Yeah. Anyway, this is a podcast about Sega, not Nicolas Cage. Hello, this is the Dylan D virtually to my left. Say hi, Dylan.
Hello. I'm a Nicolas Cage fan in that I think he is kind of hilarious and over the top. I don't know that I would watch any of his newer films, but anyway, Sega's a good subject to talk about too, and that's why we're here. So episode 39, I can't believe it. That's crazy.
39, 39, nearly 40. Thought it's going to be an interesting episode. And let's have a look back at some comments from episode 38. What have we got here, Dylan? We've got good old Sean697 says, first off, thank you for including some good Genesis music. Your opinion may vary though. For some games in this episode, brings back memories, and hey, I love Genesis music, so thanks. Well, thank you very much, Sean. We are trying to include a bit more music. I'm glad to say we have music for every game we're going to talk about today. How cool is that?
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Nice.
What else have we got? What more, Sean? Damn, Sean. Always on. There we go. GH. Good podcast, gents. Especially enjoy the music on the way. See, music again. Not sure if you've heard of them, but there is a Brazilian metal band called Mega Driver who covers Sega songs. I had a little look. Actually, pretty good.
Nice. Thinking maybe a side quest episode?
Maybe. I do actually have to do another one of those soon.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
That's true. Anyway, we got a bit more music in here now, so it's not too bad. Flux Core says, regarding the website colours, I definitely prefer the dark backgrounds. Now, we talked about a little bit last time, didn't we, Dylan, about the black on white text. What have you had any feelings on that?
Well, I have Fluxcore telling me he prefers this and saying maybe it's a little too dark. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to address Matt's. Matt is the next comment here. He says he thinks the text is a bit hard to read. Yeah. White text can be really tiring for your eyes, so I get what you're trying to do by mimicking the feel of the Sega aesthetic. And then he suggested an option for both white with black text and black with white text.
Right.
There's probably a CSS options WordPress plugin. There probably is. Now, here's the problem: is I use WordPress.com, which has a lot less options for what you can do and how you can change different aspects of the how the site looks.
Right.
And I even have their premium package. And if in order to do that, I would have to just get a new theme. Mm-hmm. So I'm still not entirely sure how I want to work this. And I think there was another comment, though not in this this particular thread, but in a different review, maybe about somebody saying they liked it. And so I've gotten kind of mixed feedback because I know it's hard on your eyes too.
But I wasn't alone, so I wasn't crazy, which is good.
Right? Yeah. So I'm not sure. It's so hard to know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you'll have websites that I can tell people spent a lot of money and time into thinking into where everything goes and the color structure, and I'll look at it and it just doesn't appeal to me whatsoever.
No.
And there's just some. But as far as reading is concerned, I mean, since that's pretty much all you do on my site, I mean, that's kind of a huge deal. So, maybe I'll just switch it. Maybe I'll just do a white background and black text, because I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. It's just not my favorite, if I'm honest. But I'd rather people read and enjoy than,
So
So
the issue of the Sam can't read anything. It's still ongoing, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Sega does still a great website. We're looking into things. That's just a little glimpse into you guys. So you leave a comment. I mentioned something. You mentioned something, and then it gets done. So that's how I like to work here on Sega Does. Anyway, off to the games. I think, Dylan, don't you?
Yes.
Yes. So today we have our first game is Sword of Vermilion. There's a game.
It is indeed a game.
Dear.
Did you play this when you were a kid?
No.
Did you play this? When did you play this?
I played this about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. For the first time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's a game I've heard a lot about. The name, like Sword of Vermilion, it kind of just stick in your head. I've heard it thrown around on so many podcasts, so many blogs, people talking about it, but never actually knew what it was. And I finally came across it, and I was like, oh, it's an RPG. Maybe this is going to be one of those like hidden, like kind of like how Secret of Mana is kind of like the secret, like second best RPG on the Super Nintendo. Like most people played the Final Fantasy, they played the Mario RPGs. Secret of Mana is kind of like the hidden, like the sister secret. Like it could be held up there with either of those as an amazing RPG. I thought, oh, maybe this is going to be like that to Phantasy Star. Yeah. Right off the bat, I'll tell you, I didn't play much of it. Being a massive RPG and being a 30-year-old with a family and kids and a business to run, it's kind of difficult to get the 20-30 hours in, I must admit. But I did give it a whirl, and I read up on about it. Yeah, you're probably going to be the best guy to talk about this and me chime in with a few of my thoughts, but it didn't rock my world, let's say that. What do you think, Dylan?
Well, didn't it strike you as... I mean, the thing that really struck me about it was how ambitious it was.
Yes.
And it was the production, or it was developed under Yu Suzuki. So not surprising that there's a lot of ambitiousness, because he doesn't do anything the normal
Sounds
way.
kind of familiar, don't you think?
That's true.
To a certain RPG that would kind of end Sega.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he didn't. He spared no expense.
No.
A la John Hammond.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park. So, yeah, I was kind of taken away by this game at first. Within the first hour, I'm like, wow, look at all this. Look at all that it's doing. You know, you have all these different perspectives. You've got a first-person perspective while you're traveling around the overworld, which I sorely missed from Phantasy Star 2. Mm-hmm. The quote real-time combat. What were your opinions on that? I thought it was a neat idea.
It's a neat idea, just not necessary.
Not necessary, and I mean, you're not really using your sword. You just kind of
nudge
it to the enemy. I mean, it's not like Chrono Trigger or something like that where,
no.
I mean, Chrono Trigger maybe not best example. It's not like Zelda. How about that? It's not like A Link to the Past where Link just shoots out his sword and you can actually, the combat, you feel the connection. There's no connection in combat here.
It had the RPG, like, I wouldn't say like wait and attack, because that's kind of not what you did, and you kind of moved and attacked, but you still had to do the old RPG of waiting your turn and stuff like that. It just didn't. It's like they had this great idea of, oh yeah, we can walk around and let's mesh the two ideas together, and it just didn't. They didn't pull it off.
No, the world itself wasn't that interesting. The dungeons all look the same, which so did Phantasy Stars. But I was always excited to go into a Phantasy Star dungeon because I really liked the atmosphere that it created. But in these dungeons, it's like you go in and it's first person, but even when the dungeon is lit, it looks like a Game Boy. I mean, it's just all, it's black and white and gray, and there's no color to anything except when you get into a fight. I don't know. I just thought that was very odd. Like it just had a very bizarre feel. I really like the music though.
The music was very good.
Yeah, more than the game itself. And I do want to say it's not like the game is bad. And I think in 1989 when this released, I mean, this game would have blown my mind, if I was of a playing age back then. But I just think as a whole, there's a lot of really good ideas that weren't fully developed, and Yu Suzuki, as he is wont to do, just threw them all together and, polished them just enough to work.
Yeah.
They work enough, but they don't stand out. And so the game is kind of a relic of its time. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, it was like a mashup of ideas rather than having the grade A execution. It really did just like it was like a concept, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, shall I have a listen to some of this music he was on about?
Please do.
Right down. This is the opening track from Sword of the Million. Tell you what, man, someone's been watching some Tron. I can tell you that much.
Wow, yeah. That's a good point.
That just reminded me so much of Tron. I mean, more of Tron Legacy, actually, because I'm more familiar with the second one. But it's I was like, wow, that sounds just. I tell you what, driving around the city at night with your top down, with the Tron soundtrack on, is like the best thing in the world. You've got to try it. You feel like such a badass. Anyway, so I listened to the Tron soundtrack quite a lot, and when that came up, I was like, wow, that is like some deep, meaningful movie score stuff there. It's just really, really good music.
Yeah. I want to do a quick correction before I forget. Yu Suzuki was the producer, not the director.
No.
I thought he was the director, but he wasn't. But I guarantee his influence to me just is all over this game. So, and it was his first console game at the time that he worked on. Kind of interesting.
That's crazy,
and I'm not sure, but I don't really think he took on a console game again. That was an original idea until Shenmue, because if he did work on Virtua Fighter and
they were
all that
ports though, weren't they? So
right, exactly. It started in the arcade.
Wow, that's a very good point.
He
kind of picked up where he left off then.
I guess so. Yeah, and just
Man.
I still prefer Shenmue, but yeah.
Me too. Right, let's have a look at some comments. Quite a lot of comments on this. Brett Brown. I loved this game at the time, but yeah, I'm not sure that the passage of time has been super kind to it. Still, there's a lot there to like. I'd probably give it a solid B if I were reviewing it. Also, those Genesis Does ads were really all about selling systems, so they were really looking for games that looked really cool. I distinctly remember that James Buster Douglas Knockout Boxing was also a feature in those ads. Yeah. I'm a big boxing and big Mike Tyson fan, and I can remember back in those days, man. That was Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson.
Not a good one.
No. Mike Tyson for the NES was obviously Punch Out was fantastic, but that Buster Douglas game, man. We'll get to it, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's have a look. What did you give it, by the way? You gave it a C+? Yes, C+.
Yeah.
I think that's about fair. How far did you get in it?
several hours in. I don't know. I was at the third or fourth dungeon, but there's 14 dungeons. I'm like, I can't.
Wow.
I can't. Yeah, it's just. I was like, I already know how I feel about this game, and I looked ahead and I read some FAQs. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty much just the same thing over and over. So
that's cool.
I granted, you do get better magic as you move forward. The magic I had at the time, I'm like, wow, this really isn't that great, but some of the magic does make your life a bit easier. It's just that was about the only difference I saw. So
we've got Benjamin Power here. Don't think I've seen him before. It says, I played the beep out of this when I was a kid. I have not fired it up in many years, though I really have no other perspectives other than solid nostalgia. Well, there is nothing wrong with that, Benjamin. Nothing wrong with that. Greg V. I played this game through several times as a kid. Wow. Did you go outside, Greg? I still remember trying desperately to dodge the wizard's fireballs. Decent game for its time. Good review. So we've got lots of nice comments here. We've got one from Sut. Never played it back in the day, but did play it through in a couple of years back on the PS2 Mega Drive collection. See, it's that PS2 Mega Drive collection again. Some awesome games on there. I didn't think much of it, but it compelled me to complete it. Wow, Sut. It's a good notch in your cap to say that you've beaten this game. It really is. We okay, Dylan? You still there?
Sorry. Yeah, I full disclosure, I was drinking some coffee. The PS2 Mega Drive collection has some games that were not on the PS3.
It does.
Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection, because it's Sword of Vermilion is not on there. I'd actually never heard of it until I played it for the site. So I might have to check out that PS2 collection, see what else is on there. It
really is good. I mean, I don't know what kind of PS3 you have. Do you have a 60 gig backwards compatible?
I used to have a 40 gig that played PS1 games, and then it died. It didn't have proper ventilation, so
no.
It
those early PS3s, man. I mean, everyone goes on about the red ring of death, but if you was a PS3 like first adopter, you know the yellow blinking light of despair.
Yeah.
That was
honestly, Sony and Microsoft just blew it with the first, like, Microsoft more so, because they didn't fix the problem until years later, which I couldn't believe. But yeah, that's a subject for another time. I have lots to say on that.
We've got Elmar here. He says, I got this game from a bargain bin several years after it was released. I recall enjoying the game. I love it when you find these games. Well, you'd never find them now because there's too much knowledge out there on the internet and places you can get them online. But back in the day, bargain bins. I could do a whole episode on bargain bins.
Oh yeah, back when Toys R Us and back when I don't know, you have a game over there, right? Or what is that?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's just called Game.
Game.
But we used to have a electronic boutique, EB. I think you guys had that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, we have EB Games, which is basically GameStop.
Yeah.
But back before all that, we had Babbage's, and Funko Land in particular was my favorite. Funko Land had the bargain bins, and man, if you find some of those old Funko Land, like, I guess just kind of advertisements for like NES games and how cheap they all were, all of them.
Yeah.
There's like nothing above $40, and I'm talking like super expensive games now, like Little Samson and stuff would be like, several hundred. It was probably like $12.99 back then. It was just crazy.
No, we had one of the shops over here that had lots of bargain bins. It was called Woolworths.
Woolworths, yeah. Huh?
Yeah. Do you have Woolworths? Or did you have Woolworths?
They all went out of business in
they
like
did
the 80s.
Yeah. They went out of business here in about 2006, something like 5, something like that.
Okay.
And I can remember getting, this is for the Super Nintendo, I got the Virgin games, Jungle Book, and
oh yeah,
it was The Lion King. I think they were like $9.99 each. So, wow, I got so many hours and hours. That Jungle Book game, Jesus, that's hard.
The Virgin Disney games are just insane. Like, everyone thinks Capcom is hard, but at least they recognized they were making games for children. I don't think the Virgin developers are just like, screw it. They hated kids.
Yeah. Now then.
But those are fun. Yeah.
They are great. We'll get to some Virgin games in the not hopefully too distant future.
Yes.
But our next game is a very strange game, but very compelling. We are turking. See, I'm getting my words wrong because I'm trying to get ready to pronounce this correctly. We are talking about Hergog 2. Is that right?
Herzog.
Herzog 2. What does that mean?
Well, Zwei is 2.
Yeah.
Not sure about Herzog.
I've never played Herzog on its own.
Herzog, the original, came out for Japanese computers.
Did it?
I want to say. Yeah.
Right, okay.
But it was not like this game.
Right.
So this was a significant step forward, and little did they know, Technosoft, the developers, little did they know they were basically creating a genre. This game, real-time strategy. It's pretty amazing.
Console as well. It's quite an amazing game. I'll be honest. I played this game and put it down. I honestly couldn't understand what the hell was going on or anything like that. And then I thought I'm doing something wrong. And I went on YouTube of all places and looked it up and watched a few videos. And the Classic Game Room guy, I can't remember his name, but he's a massive fan of this game, and he's got loads and loads of videos on it. And then he as soon as he started playing it, he went into a menu that I didn't even know was there. I was like, "What's that?" And it's where you can order your artillery and your units and stuff. I was like, "Oh, there we go, hooray!" And I didn't play it an awful lot, but it reminded me a lot. Not just in aesthetics, but also gameplay of a game on the PlayStation 1 called Z, by the Bitmap Brothers, and that was kind of like the first strategy game that I'd ever played. It was a little bit like Age of Empires, but I mean Age of Empires was massive back then, but it was like a real condensed down version. Like basically, this is your base, there's their base. You have a few units at the start. You can make a few more. The idea is basically to get as many squares as you can, and then get as many mini bases as you can, and then try and take over the main base and then blow it up, or you can either take it over or blow it up or do whatever you like. And it was a great game. Very much in the same aesthetic as this as well, like futuristic robots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This, I found it pretty hard to play, but I could understand and grasp. If you actually put the time in this game, this was an amazingly forward-thinking game for its time.
Yeah, and I was kind of with you in that. At first, I was very overwhelmed by everything, but once I started figuring out the tactics of how to make your units, of where to best set them up, of how to capture bases so that you can take over more control of the map, and
I just really didn't expect it. I think was more the main thing from a console game from 1990 or wherever we are now. I didn't expect this tool set. It's crazy,
right? And the thing that I found is, well, one, I'm terrible at this game. I put several hours into it, and I'm still just awful at it. But I love games that beat me up, but I still come back wanting more, and they're very few and far between. And I really fell in love with this game to the point where I kind of want, and I don't say this very often because I just don't care, but I kind of want a physical copy of it.
Wow.
Because it's a game that I would bust out with people, and we could stumble through it together. It's it's
because it's 2-player as well, isn't it?
Right, it is. And
I didn't play it that way because I have no friends. But
I guess that's just a getting older thing, right?
Yeah, well, I have no friends that if I said, "Hey, do you want to come play this Genesis game from 1990 with me?" They'd be like, "No." And so anyway, but very impressive. A strategy game on a Genesis. But it's not just that. It's you can actually take control of the units yourself and use them. It's just, so forward thinking. It reminded me so much of Zed. My brothers listening would be like, "Oh my god!" We never had the game. There was just a demo that we played for 50 hours.
Okay.
But it was like one map and one whole level, and we just played it over and over and over again. Anyone remembers that? Zed is worth a fortune now. It's worth like $250.
Jeez, that's crazy.
And I swear I saw it once in electronic boutiques for like $2.99. I swear I did.
I believe it.
So annoying. Time machine. People say, "Oh, I'll go back and I'd see Albert Einstein and I'd go see the dinosaurs." And I go back to about 1998 and I go to the bargain bin.
That would be the best. Yep.
You know, you could still get cheap Super Nintendo games. You could get all the stuff that wasn't released that year for PlayStation for like a $5. I was like, oh, come on, buy everything.
Oh, I know. It'd be amazing.
Anyway, so you like this game then, Dylan?
I think I gave it a solid A.
Straight A.
That's my favorite Genesis game I've played so far. In that, and my justification for the score, besides just really enjoying it, was an A. A's are for me games that I don't think will ever get old. Like,
yeah,
I was really shocked at how much this game pulled me in. And it kind of reminded me of, even though Advance Wars is turn-based, not real-time, it had that feel with Advance, like that I get with Advance Wars, where I get really sucked into that series.
Yeah.
To the point where I could just play them and pick them up and play them anytime, and I'm instantly sucked back in again. And that's how this game feels, is like once you have an idea of the mechanics, which again aren't that hard once you get used to them, it's really just a game you can go back to time and time again. Yeah. So, and then putting it up to the fact that it basically influenced all these other strategy computer games like Dune 2 and Command and Conquer and Warcraft, and it's like this game's influence was just insane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a really. They didn't know what they were doing, I guarantee. They didn't know what...
No, they just thought of a cool idea and thought, hey, we can do this, and they just did it. And, yeah, it's pretty cool. Do you want some music from Hergog's Eye?
Hergog.
Okay.
Herzog. Let's do it.
We have a track called The Fighter, Called to the Base. Some pretty serious stuff going on there.
Yeah, that's war for you, especially with robots. It's just hard.
War, man. It never changes. Oh, man. That's pretty... There we go. That's pretty air-shredding, actually. But when you're in the grasp of it, it's pretty cool. Let's have a look at some thoughts then, Dylan. Why don't you go reading some of these out? I bet I've caught off guard now. You got some... Oh.
Josh Ingram says, good post, makes me want to play it with you. It's my buddy from Oregon, actually.
All right.
Yeah, I got into Civilization 2 for PC in my early teens. After a whole bunch of playing, my domain, as it were, was pathetic. I was in the space race with bearskin rugs on my throne room floor. You're right, these games are hard.
They are hard.
Fluxcore NZ says, no mention of the fantastic music. Oh, wait, we just mentioned it.
Oh,
with
yeah.
The theme. Along with Thunder Force 3, 4, and Elemental Master, Technosoft are my favorite Mega Drive composers. Yeah, they wasn't a huge fan of Thunder Force 2 music, but this was much better.
Yeah.
ET says, never played this one. Sounds like I would have enjoyed it. I think the name on the box had a lot to do with my lack of interest. I would argue that's why most people didn't play this game.
Yeah.
If I ever see a copy, I think I will pick one up. That is a good idea.
Send one to Dylan.
What's that?
Send one to you. You want one
yeah,
too?
Please. Yeah, please send one to me. Taylor said, I like RTS games. I was never able to figure this one out as a kid. I tried to figure out why my plane kept dying without touching anything, and then just gave up and never touched it again. If I would have played this as a kid, I would have hated it.
Dude, that was me like 10 days ago. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, and this is one of Sean 697's favorite Genesis games.
It's got a real following, this game has. As I said, I played it, I couldn't do it, and then I looked it up and it was like, oh, the people that like this game really like this game.
Yep.
Really, really, really. Which brings us on to our next game, which I thought I was going to love.
Yeah.
Because the box art is pretty damn cool. The
box art is some of my favorite that we've seen for the Mega Drive so far, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty smart.
Yeah.
We are talking about Curse. Which is a good name as well.
It is.
Is this Japanese? This is Japanese only jobby, isn't it?
It is, but it was supposed to be released in the West. And it never was. And nobody really knows why, but I mean, to the point where some Western game magazine publishers had review copies and reviewed them. So that just never came out. So yeah, Japanese only.
Now, we've been having some pretty good discussions on our side-scrolling space shooters. I think I'm going to stick to that term now. Side-scrolling space shooters. I think everybody knows what you're talking about when you're talking about side-scrolling space shooters. If you were to come across an alien on your travels through the great country of America, and the first thing he said to you was, I want to know all about the genre called side-scrolling space shooters, you could show him this game, and I think it would probably be a pretty good coverage of that subject. This is the most generic, let's put every trope that works in a side-scrolling space shooter game there is, but it just doesn't click. I'm still trying to figure out quite why. I think a lot of it's got to do with pace. It's not quite fast enough, and the scale is wrong as well. I don't know, and they couldn't. I've got on my sheet here like art style question mark, because they couldn't quite decide what they wanted it to look like. So it looks like everything. Every level, there is no like leading art style going all the way through. Everything, like all the enemies, they don't fit like a certain theme. You know, you go through fighting like aliens and spaceships that look very metallic, and then all of a sudden there's like a big pink blob with a yellow blob attached to it, and then there's like a bird, and it's like, there's no through line, there's no real thoughts gone into it. It's like they've seen one of these games, go, we can make one of those, and just kind of copied everything and tweaked it very slightly, but there's no, I don't know, I won't say soul because that was a bit harsh, but there's no, I don't know, there's no spirit, there's no like guy behind it going, this is our vision, this is what we're going to do. It
doesn't have a personality.
No,
like,
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, it really doesn't, because there were parts that reminded me of R-Type. There were parts that reminded me of even like Thunder Force 2, the side-scrolling sections there. And like you said, it has a little bit of everything, but it almost feels like it doesn't know what it wants to do. I'm
glad you felt the same way.
Yeah, and honestly, it feels like a budget title. Yeah. Like if it was released, I think the budget title really became a thing at the end of the PS1 days when you see those.
It's like a $30 PlayStation 1 game.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and so, but before that sort of existed, I mean, you know, I don't know what this released for, but I'm sure it was probably full price or close to it. And yeah, there's just nothing that really stands out here. Even though I didn't hate my time with it, I didn't really. If I never played it again, I wouldn't care, and I'll
No.
always remember it because of that cover.
Yeah.
So good on them for, kind of being smart with their art design. But the game itself doesn't even. I don't know. The cover is actually kind of a good representation in that it doesn't really have anything to do with the game, as far as I could tell. Unless that's like the last boss, because I never got to the last boss. But yeah, it's like, wow, what a neat cover. The game inside must be good or not.
No.
So
I honestly can't remember off the top of my head if the music is any good. So let's have a listen. This is, I don't know what this is, but this is a track from Curse on the Sega Mega Drive. Oh, I do remember this is good. Very 70s sounding.
yeah, it reminds me of oh gosh, I want to say it was Mega Man 1, and I want to say it was Electric Man. Totally rips off of a Journey song, the theme for Electric Man, and that's what that sounds like.
Yeah,
it sounds like Journey. But it's not bad, and those drums, man.
Yeah,
those Genesis drums, I swear.
So I'm really, really starting to like this Genesis music, man.
I know.
Aged good. I'm gonna leave it going in the background. I quite like that. Right. Actually, no, I won't. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start our next game off, our last game today, with a track from it. Now, I have a very interesting point of view, which is kind of funny, and kind of a funny little bit I'm going to do. But actually, I'm actually quite serious about it. And but to start off with, let's have a listen to Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. That's about as funky as I've heard the Master System sound.
It almost sounds like NES quality.
Yeah.
And actually, I really like the soundtrack.
It's brilliant. Anyway. And I really like this game. This is Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. A weird mashup of Nintendo properties, Dylan.
Okay, is this your story?
No. We're going to talk about the game first, and then I'm going to go on my rant.
Oh, okay.
Originally, this was supposed to be a Shinobi Kid game.
I know. It totally makes sense.
There are screenshots of it as a Shinobi Kid game, and then you can look at what's pretty easy to find. And then next to it, there's some shots of Alex Kidd in Shinobi World, and they are exactly the same. Just Alex Kidd is now there, and instead of Kid Shinobi, whoever he would have been. Yes. This is a very Japanese thing to do, like take a semi-serious or very serious property and then stick a little kid in it and make it all cartoony. But I actually quite like the concept, and it works quite well. Until we got to Virtual Fighter Kids, which a little bit maybe not there.
The obsession with big heads in the mid-90s.
every game had a big head cheat code.
I know.
Everything. NBA Jam, Tekken 2, even Tomb Raider, GoldenEye. I think Tomb Raider had lots of codes. Some good codes. Yeah. But anyway, so Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. Dylan, this game's really good.
This game's really good. This is like top tier Alex Kidd game, even though it's not an Alex Kidd game to me.
No.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a little on the easy side, but
that's okay. That means you can beat it.
Okay. Right, exactly. As I get older, I don't really care when games are easy. No. Yeah, it's just a fun platformer. Every stage is different. Every stage kind of has you doing different things, and Alex actually has weapons and skill and control and like all these things that he doesn't normally have. He has it in this because he shouldn't be here. It should be Joe Musashi as a child, but it's Alex Kidd, and that's okay.
That's just so weird. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just, this game has a lightheartedness to it that all the Alex Kidd games kind of had, but at the same time, you could tell that Sega was taking the game like really seriously.
Yeah.
Like, this is our baby. You know, it's like, yeah, we're gonna have some humor in here, but they kind of saved the humor more for like Wonder Boy, I think. And anyway, yeah, it's definitely, I think I like it about on par with the Lost Stars. I'm sure you love it more than that.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's
Lost Stars.
I know you're not a fan of that.
I can't remember. Oh, stupid. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, there's not really a lot to say about it. I mean, it's a really good platformer, and it's very simple and very colorful and sounds good and looks good and makes fun of Shinobi a bit, and yeah, it's a good time. Good time for all concerned.
It really is good. It is the quintessential 8-bit game.
Right.
It controls well. It sounds good. It looks really good.
It does. It looks so much better. Look at this game, and then look at those terrible Golden Axe ports. That Golden Axe port and that, Forgotten Worlds, which I know you kind of liked. I like the Ghosts and Goblins port, so I get it. We've all got our thing, but man, a game developed straight for the Master System just looks leagues better.
It does.
And
it does.
Yeah.
This game is the most important game Sega ever made.
Okay.
The reason being that they had this game that was coming along pretty well. And, you know, we're gonna really get ourselves behind this game. We're gonna put Alex Kidd in it, and it's gonna be awesome, and it's gonna do great. It's gonna give us that little kicker the Master System needs, and then they're gonna buy this game, and then they're gonna move on to the Genesis, and it's gonna be brilliant. Okay. So they stick Alex Kidd in this game, and it's all fantastic, and the game is actually really good for an Alex Kidd game, which I know is weird. Alex Kidd, good, crazy, right? And it's really good, and it's solid, and it does crap. It sells virtually nothing. It's a niche thing. It sits on shelves. It is rubbish. This game, I personally believe, is responsible for Sonic the Hedgehog.
I think so.
Yep. Because they threw Alex Kidd in there thinking, right, we're going to give this a proper push, and it did nothing. And they was like, right, we can't keep banging our heads against this wall, guys. We've got to do something. And then they came up with Sonic.
Do you think that the here, I have an alternative theory to this. I think the Enchanted Castle for the Genesis was so bad and so just like so poorly developed that I think Sonic kind of was born after that, but I think that Alex Kidd in Shinobi World was a way to see, well, maybe Alex Kidd can live on the Master System. But like you said, this game did nothing. I mean, and now it's getting more and more rare and expensive.
Yeah.
At least in the States. I don't know how it is over there, but
you can get a hold of a copy. I mean, it's not like $5. It's more like 20. But it's
right.
I mean, the copies are out there. I've read things they pushed this game. This was meant to be like the kid platform in Europe. Probably didn't get that push in the States because it wasn't. The mass system wasn't a thing over there. But this was meant to be.
Right.
This is the platforming. It's platforming. It's got colour. It's got a kid like mascot. It's got ninjas. What more do you want? And
right.
It's just like nah.
Yeah.
And it didn't have that vibe, that edge that it needed. Like the other Genesis games, like the Golden Axes, like the Shinobis were coming out and they had this edge and they were selling. And I know I'm being a little bit silly saying, "Oh, this is the most," but I do honestly believe that maybe this and like what was the last Alex Kidd game before this?
The Enchanted Castle. That was the one on the Genesis.
They were some of the most, in a weird sort of way, important games Sega ever released because it showed them that this was the wrong way to go.
That's very true.
And I was thinking to myself like, wow, they actually did go after this. Was like, nope, this is the wrong way. We're not doing this anymore. We're not doing let's try and make a Mario. We're going somewhere else. And but the game is really good. Really good.
Yeah.
And a good send-off for Alex.
Yeah, and as we'll get to in the comments, somebody suggested it would have been nice to see Alex Kidd in different kind of like kiddie takes on other Genesis games.
Alex Kidd in Golden Axe.
Right, exactly.
Wow, that would have been quite cool.
Golden Kid, Altered Kid, and they even said Streets of Kid.
Streets of Kid.
I don't know about that one.
Alex Kidd in Mortal Kombat. You imagine that?
Just sounds funny.
That sounds cool.
So
fatality just floats off. Brilliant. So what are these comments in, Dylan?
Sean697 says, I guess I'll have to go try this out now. Being a Shinobi fan, but not having a Master System, I totally missed it. Yes, he absolutely has to play this.
You do.
GH says, only played this one briefly, but it's a lot of fun. Shame it's treated as a spin-off. Shinobi World is probably the second best Alex Kidd game, with Miracle World being number one. Rather than his own average games, very true, Alex Kidd should have just starred in his own versions of popular Mega Drive games ported to the Master System. I reckon Altered Kid, Streets of Kid, and Golden Kid would have been pretty
Streets
good.
of Kid. Please, somebody make that. Streets of Kid.
Old School Playa says, wow, sounds like a sleeper hidden gem. Too bad no one has ever played it.
Exactly.
Now I'm going to have to track this bad boy down.
There's so many people. Oh my lord, everything is crumbling. Who's that?
He says, I got real upset with the retro store owner trying to fence it off for about $90 and told him I'd give him $30 before even looking it up to find the $25 price tag online. Yeah. Now that I check again, I'm not seeing anything below $50 on my first cursory glance.
Oh dear.
Maybe I should have ordered it a few weeks ago. Are your reviews driving up price? Just checked. I got the screenshot to show my buddy that was with me, and then he does indeed post a screenshot showing it for $24.90. So I say just keep your eyes peeled and you'll catch it for a fair price. This post was an emotional roller coaster for me. Please continue to comment. This was amazing.
Oh my lord, everything is crumbling. You've got to keep going. And I like the name. Fantastic. Yep. Yeah, so this seems like the same story of everyone. Like they just missed this game.
Yeah, because I mean, if you were a Sega fan, you probably were like Sean and traded in your stuff for a Genesis by this point.
I'm sorry, I've just got an image in my head now of this guy arguing with it's Alex Kidd in the title. I'm not giving you $90.
Yeah, pretty much. Even 50. I mean, I'd pay 20 for this, but beyond that, I don't know. That's
come on,
because it's so short. I should say it's 4 worlds, and I think I got to the last boss in like 45 minutes.
Yeah, the problem is now though, it's not like it was 10 years ago. People buy retro video games now as an investment, not because it like that. Like, Earthbound. I mean, to me, to be fair, it's probably worth about 200 quid, and I would have brought it to play it.
Right.
But I'd have bought it to play it. for that. Like these games, like, oh yeah, $30 for Alex Kidd, $40 for Alex. I wouldn't pay that because it's not worth that.
Right.
People are buying them as investments. They're like gold. It's like gold you can play with. It's you know, it is. It's weird.
Don't you think the bottom? I mean, it's got to bottom out, right?
No.
Like it's got to crumble.
No.
You don't think so?
No, YouTubers will always be pushing up those prices now.
But you know what's funny is that, like, I mean, I love these games, but it's so much more convenient to not have all this crap in your house, and two, to play it on a computer where I would argue it looks and sounds just as good, or if not better. And I just don't get it.
If you have an original Genesis Mega Drive, the best thing you can buy, you take $50 out of your pocket, you go on the internet and you buy a Sega EverDrive.
Right.
You are sorted. You've got every Master System and every Genesis game ever. Done.
Yeah.
And they play on the original hardware. So you got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Yeah. Well, that's I mean, really, I mean that's it, because I mean, I'll go into retro game stores here and I'll look at their prices. I'm just like,
it's ridiculous.
No, not gonna happen.
It is ridiculous. Anyway, so next time out, Dylan, is going to be a bit of a special episode. We're going to be talking about Sonic.
Some guy I've heard of.
He took over from Alex Kidd. Alex Kidd needed a vacation. Sonic came along and just sorted him out.
A 30-year vacation as it turned out. 25. Yeah.
Yeah. So look forward to that. No game over game today, but next episode we'll have a very special game over game.
Woo!
Testing Dylan's Sonic knowledge.
Oh my.
He claims he's quite an expert.
Yeah, I'm an expert to an extent, so we'll see.
We'll see how that goes. You told me any Sonic game, I can name that game just by like 2 seconds. You said, boom, I got it.
I want to hear.
No problem.
I want to hear me saying that.
No problem.
Back.
That's what you said. I swear. Somewhere.
Okay. Somewhere in your vast sound archives, you recorded me.
You know what? I've probably got enough audio of you to be able to make that clip.
That's scary. You're probably right, though.
I think I've got about 60 hours of you.
Well, if I pass, you have to burn it all.
I can make you like Johnny Depp in that film.
What? Johnny Depp? What?
He made himself into a computer, didn't he? I can't remember. It was really bad. I didn't watch it all.
Oh, they all did that back in the 90s. Johnny
No, this was like
and
3 years ago. It's called Transcendent, I think.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, where he's like God and a robot.
Something like
something.
That. It was awful.
Yeah.
Anyway, until next time, Sega, Dylan.
Sega.